Hey there, you guys. What's going on? Jacqueline Jax here for AVA Live Radio. So, today I am talking to you guys about brand building. And we're going to spend 10 minutes going over some really great brand building ideas for you to do so much better. And the reason why is because typically I noticed that a lot of artists think that brand has to do with the font or a certain color or something like that that you bring in. And yes, it does. It's visually recognizable, right? In one way. But the biggest thing that you miss as far as branding is not in the logo. So just giving me a logo to work with when I go and start to do PR for you, that's not really where the brand actually gets its name and established. It's what happens as a result of the brand. How does that logo, the color scheme, how does everything you put out speak for you? And this is where it gets muddled. This is, I think, where the idea about branding actually misses the target. So let's just think about some of the artists that I have built and helped establish their names. And if I were to group them together, the things that most stand out and that people most engage with and love about them are as follows. So you might want to write this down. And I'm going to write it down too because I'm going to make a blog post on it too at musicmarketinginsider.com. So the first thing is, what is it about them that speaks to the audience when they're not in a room? So like, what is it that people engage with on their social media pages? What is it, the message? What is it that they can count on from the artist? It's like this idea of brand and credibility all wrapped into one. And the reason why the visual kind of has to do with it is it's like seeing a product. You either love this product or you don't love this product. So if this was the artist and the blues and this was all part of their color scheme, this was their logo, and they had music that you absolutely love, then you would associate this with a pleasurable experience, right? You would associate this artist with the color scheme, the logo, the whole thing, with what it is that you extract value from them and what you can count on. So that's where brand and message kind of like get, separated for artists. You don't realize that just having a logo is not enough. It's what this means that is actually the brand. You see what I mean? Now that carries into social media and into your website and into your music. So like now we've got to think of as an artist, what are you going to create or that you like to create? What is it that you love to do that has some kind of story that we can tell around it? So what I do is I usually have a questionnaire and I give it to my artists that I'm going to be working with, and they start to fill that in. And so then I start to extract little pieces for their stories and their press releases that try to pull out not just what's going on with a single, but what it is that is most, not divisive, but most the standout message. And now we start, that's like stage one. We start to see if you're going to be consistent with that, if you are going to be on point with that. Now, when it goes to social media, I would say 99% of the artists forget it. So like the artists that I have helped that have come forward so quickly and who have built massive fan bases, right, easily, are the ones who have stuck to that message and been really consistent in delivering it in their content. And that has to do with the backgrounds of the images, the world that you share online. So think of every image, every piece of content now as the picture that you're painting for people to see from you. And does your newsletter deliver value? Does your newsletter deliver that stuff? Like, does your newsletter pull in the content that people might have missed that is most important about creating the music and getting from point A to point B? How is it that you're evolving your story? Does it have press releases? Does it have like a personal message from you that talks about what it is that is most close to your heart and your current projects? And then does that have supporting articles that we've put together for you in order for people to get more and dig deeper and listen to the music? And how and where is that being distributed? So like all of that has to work together. So it's kind of like a great big circle that all leads to the center, right? So like on the outside of the circle is actually all of the pieces that you're going to put together, right? They're going to bring people into the center of the circle. The center of the circle is really important because that's like the center of a hurricane. Inside that eye is where the super fans live. Those are the people who really, really love your stuff. And those inside that eye is where you're funneling them into. So if you were going to promote your music, and start a newsletter, start a mailing list, because that's something you can keep track of. And say you are going to, and this is the basic, the basics of marketing actually. And you are going to have the top of your funnel be the entry page to your newsletter. You don't want everybody going in, right? Because like it costs money to send out emails, which we know very well because we send them out every day. But these are the people in the center of the hurricane, in the eye. So if you look at this funnel like it's a hurricane, it really does start to make sense. These are the people going in. You want this level to be people who get your message. Not just anybody, people who get your message and are really like on board with your brand. They get you. They know what you're doing. And you allow them to get you. Like, remember, they're not just going to get you from vague stuff, right? You can't post vague things and not show up and tell your story and not be there and have a just wealth of information and a wealth of descriptive content about you and your brand for people to understand what that brand actually means. So the people coming in here, I like to think the only people that are going to come into the top of my funnel are people who really get me, have followed me for a little while, have interacted with me, and really want to see more of what I'm doing, really want to be part of that. So they would be actually my clients. Not necessarily my clients are down here yet. It would be people who are fans of my work, who have hung out with my work, who really want to buy my art, who want to work with me in PR. Maybe they haven't worked with me yet. They're interested in working with me and they want to stick close, and they like the positive energy and the flow that I produce in my content. So maybe they just want to take that next level and take that next step and get on board so that they can start getting into the world and being drawn in. And that is where we end up down here. Now down here at the lower part of the funnel, guys, that's where you're going to make your money. That's where you're going to be able to build a stronger brand. You have cohesiveness with people down here. That in the center, the eye of the hurricane, the eye of the storm for your brand is where everything comes together. Now, the big artists that you see like Taylor Swift, Rihanna, people who have diehard fans, they have millions of people right there. Millions, but they started here very slowly. And this is why rising from a niche and being really consistent when you're brand building, having a very consistent message and keep delivering it so that it serves people and it finds its audience. That's why that's important. They started here and now they're here at the millions of marks, so that when they release something new, they release a t-shirt, they release brand merchandise, they release an album, they have enough people that want all of that content real fast. Now this leads me into singles versus albums. And the reason why is because a lot of you guys are really new to music, or maybe you really haven't done a lot in building your brand and you're just kind of getting on board, which would be why you're listening to this right now. So what would happen is, if you don't have any really good music, then there's an advantage to you releasing your first single and trying to get people on board from that single to get your album. So we would release one single first with the promise that you have an album coming out in a month. And that is the encouragement and enticement as you tell all those stories for people to join that email list. Being that if they love your single, that is the difference between a just random person getting on this or you adding somebody to your list, which I never think you should do, and having somebody join voluntarily to get the album, to get a notification of when that album drops. That would be a prime person that might end up at the bottom end of this funnel purchasing an album, buying vinyl, buying the t-shirt, loving the album and the concept so much that they want to invest, buying your artwork, whatever it is that you build around your brand and your personal message. Those people at the bottom of the funnel had to start somewhere, and I think the best thing is to release a single, have them get on board with you at that point, and maybe see a video of you on that single, have them get on board there and like, you know, and then start to follow you from that point on. And you as an artist are going to only deliver a message filled with content and encouragement and speaking to your audience, connecting with them on that brand message in that email. Now, once you have a single out, you're going to launch an album. You don't always have to launch a full album. In fact, right now, we still are singles versus albums. One, people who are already on board and in that fandom process want more, right? They're always good with more. They will invest time and energy in listening to a full album. But new people will only usually invest time and energy listening to one single. So if you released all your goodies at once, one, the Spotify algorithm doesn't know what to do with you because they're going to judge you based on the trend of those singles. So if I were to take a single and market it and put it in our system on our dashboard, get it out there to people and they start listening to it, they probably will listen to one single over a full amount of content, like over a full album. They probably won't listen to a full album from a new person unless that first song is amazing, but the minute the song stops speaking to them, they stop listening right there. And that's the problem with launching an album if you're an unknown. One, it's good to have inventory, we know that. But two, it's good to mostly use your singles to get people on board and into that newsletter so you have a chance to send them 5 emails over time talking about your story and trying to get those touch points that the brands do. Now, the people that I've built that have amazing brands and they're selling music and they're making, you know, $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, $500,000 a year, and they're influencers now, they have really dug deep into their heart and talked a lot about their struggles. And that's been the easiest newsletters to write because they're free zone. They're from your heart. You don't have to make them up. You don't have to think about what to say. You just report, you know, and you just talk about it. If you could talk about it on video, it's a great way to build your YouTube channel over time because people will start watching them. And then getting back to singles versus albums, and this is one of the last things that I'm going to say. Aside from having an inventory, rolling out the singles is really good for Spotify. So when we take a single and we put it in our system and we press release it, we send it out to newsletter, we send it out to fans, we send it out to industry, we get as many people talking about it and engaging with it as we can, we put it on the website, we build feature stories around it, we do as much press as we can. The reason why is because when it gets close to the 8-week mark, Spotify is going to take a look at a new artist single if it's on the rise. They're not going to look early on, they're going to look for consistency. So if you had an album out, a lot of your really great work could end up at the bottom of the pile if people are only mainly listening to that first single because you don't have a fan base that really wants to hear more, right? So it's better, I believe, to roll out one single at a time in Spotify's view if you are looking to actually, one, get people on board with your newsletter because they have something to anticipate, and two, if you want Spotify looking, then like every 6 to 8 weeks, or every 4 to 6 weeks, roll out another single. You don't have to be real quick with this. When you get to the end, you can house them all as part of the album. You can build a platform and say, this is the album coming, one single at a time. And that way people have time to digest them. I also noticed that when you have one single to represent an album before it comes out, people tend to listen to that single over and over again. So if you had a small fan base and a beginning fan base, they're more likely to listen to that one song consistently because they love it. So release your best songs first so that you can get them re-listening and really get people, you know, listening and on board. Now in the email and your newsletters, you should be talking about your goals. Like, hey guys, I really, really want Spotify to, you know, put me on the map with the single. It would be great if you could listen to it once every day, if you could share it with your friends, if you like the song, and support me. Now, the people at the bottom of the funnel will totally freaking do that. They will do it because, you know what, they're probably already doing it. You don't even have to ask them. But they will share if you ask them to. And the people at the top of the funnel, they're just getting on board, but you have time to convince them. All right, so that's my last tip of the day. I hope you guys get a real understanding about how to build your brand. Go out there and design something fun. And remember, if you have merchandise, if you're not willing to spend money on that merchandise and be wearing it yourself, probably nobody else is either. So Think about that when you design your products. I'll see you guys soon, and happy Friday. Don't forget, this is all part of our YouTube channel at AV Live Radio, so definitely subscribe to us there. Bye, you guys. See you, see you, see you.